Hi everyone, and welcome back to one of us vlogs. So this is the one where I was talking about in an earlier video about music, and we're going to start to look at what likes and history of our likes of music, and we'll just have a bit of a natter about it really, and just see where that goes. And then maybe I've got a little bit of a plan for future videos at the end, and that's about the structure of it. There's not going to be much structure.
No, a music natter.
Music natter. Very similar to our TV natter, maybe.
And we'll see where we go with it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when you suggested this, I was like, because I'm not that big on music, am I? And the older I've got, the more I've kind of changed and gone into other things. But when I was actually thinking about what I exactly really had to think about this one, I actually do have a history and a relationship with music. And it has played a big important part in my life without even realising it.
Yeah, music is such, it does, because it reaches right down into the inner emotions a lot of the time, and that's why it can be quite divisive at times, because people are either going to like it or not like it, or be a bit blasé about it. But this video is more about music you love, the music that really sets your soul singing, and that's what we're going to start talking about, I think. And I'll probably start with what is probably fundamentally my favourite album and one of my favourite bands, and it's the Stone Roses. So I don't know where to start. So you've got Ian Brown's vocals, and you've got the fantastic bass guitar, you've got John Squire's amazing electric guitar solos in there. The music's, it's rocky, but it's mellow, but it's dancey. And, my love from this band started probably in the early to mid 90s. Obviously, they'd been around for quite a bit before then. I think Stone Roses was probably late 80s, the album, if I think. And so I kind of came into them late. And it's obviously my university years when I went to Salford University. And we started going out in Manchester, which would have been the big indie scene back then. And we went to clubs like the Hacienda and 42nd Street and Fifth Avenue and all those kinds of really indie kind of places. And that's where I think the first time I went into the Hacienda, we walked down the stairs, and my first input of indie music as a university was, and they were playing I Am the Resurrection by the Stone Roses, which is one of their main big songs, and it was just playing as we walked in, and just the atmosphere in there was amazing, and it just felt fantastic. And I've had that feeling all the time now, every time I listen to that song. So where does our music taste come from? Have you got a song or artist that does that for you?
I'm not sure. I have a weird, and this is one of the things that put me off, because some people are really passionate about music and I'm not. But I've got a varied thing of music. What would be my passion?
Well, you really like the power ballads, don't you?
Yeah, power ballads. Whitney Houston, yeah. You see what I mean? I have to be reminded.
Does not Whitney Houston, Whitney Houston?
Yeah, Whitney Houston. I'm looking at my list. Yeah, Whitney Houston does.
What is it? My Heart Will Go On. Is that one of hers? And
no, that's Celine Dion.
Is that CL? I'm a bit out on my power ballads. I've got to admit.
I've got to say, it's more like disco with me. 70s, 80s. I used to like Michael Jackson. I think he was the first person I ever got bought albums of, all the albums. And certain songs of his, certain Britney Spears songs, certain Adele songs as well. Let me have a look. See, I had to write it down.
So first album was a Michael Jackson album?
I think so, yeah.
I think my first album
was Off the Wall.
Would have been a 60s album, and it stemmed from what was on the telly at the time.
Yeah.
And it was the Monkees' Greatest Hits.
Yeah.
And they had the TV show, didn't they? It was on all the time when I was young. I think it was quite old back then, between that and Batman. Yeah, we used to watch that all the time, and I love that. I love that album, and I think I had it on tape. and I used to play it over and over and over and again on my little Walkman.
Yeah.
And that's probably my introduction to, 60s-y music. But my parents were quite 60s-y as well.
Same here.
I'm from a little town called Batley in West Yorkshire, and there was a club called the Batley Variety Club, and all the famous artists turned up there. You've got Diana Ross, you've got Gene Pitney, I think Tom Jones has played the Batley Variety Club, and I think my mum and dad have probably popped in and seen some of these artists at the time. So didn't really have a massive music in growing up. We used to listen to the charts on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
I saw that on your sheet that you
on
used
the
to do
radio.
that.
I used to listen to it on the radio. Do they even do that kind of thing now?
Yeah, it's still on. I think it's still there. I've kind of looked at it because I was a little bit interested on the last song, the Liam Gallagher song. I was just interested to see how well it did in the charts. It didn't do very well. I don't think it's. I don't think that kind of generational music now does very well in the singles charts. I think it's more the singles charts is for young people now. It's all kind of youngy kind of people's music that I've not really got. I've fallen out of it. You fall out of what's the word? You don't listen to it, do you? And I even changed the radio stations. You know, as a youngie, you listen to radio stations like Radio 1, and then in my late 20s, early 30s, I went to Radio 2, and then I got a bit sick of Radio 2, and now I'm on commercial radio.
Yeah. It's interesting because the other day they were talking about, there was some type of Spice Girl anniversary, and they were really banging on about it. And I thought, God, they're talking about the Spice Girls as though they were the Beatles. And then something stopped me, and I thought, actually, obviously that's my generation. For some people from my generation and younger, the Spice Girls were the Beatles of the day. Same with Take That, same with Boyzone.
I have to tell you my story about the Spice Girls.
Whereas if you spoke to our parents, they'd say other bands. Whereas if you spoke like Oasis for you.
Yeah.
So it is the people of the era that make the bands what they are. Like if we had children looking on who they're liking, their bands are the supreme bands of the day. Whereas the other generations may not get it.
No, and exactly. It's all generational thing. A lot of it is, and people get comfortable, I think, in their music choices. And you listen to the old stuff, and if some new stuff comes out and it's similar to how you like it, you probably enjoy it. But then if it's completely out of your ballpark, you probably won't enjoy it so much. That's why I do try and listen to a bit of commercial radio, and there is a bit of new stuff on there, but it is in my wheelhouse. It is in my ballpark to some degree. So that's why I enjoy it's Absolute Radio I listen to. So not on the decades stations. I just listen to the main station because it gives you that bit of a mix of music. And I'm babbling on a bit now because I was going to say Spice Girls story.
We're all waiting for that.
So I remember seeing the Spice Girls for the first time. I can tell you what I want or what I really want. That song, you know what I mean, where the Zigga Zigga.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that signal and I was thinking, God, they're going to be a one-hit wonder, aren't they? They're shocking. It's like, what? Because I got it. I was in the indie zone back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like me Oasis, my Stone Roses. The Verve, the Cast, and Charlatans, and all those kind of bands. And it was all rocky rolly. And the Spice Girls were different. They were aiming at a different audience. And they did really well, and I was wrong, and I'm wrong about a lot of things. And some of the music I don't mind. It's it's all right, and it can be quite good. I'm not that keen on that first song, but I've got to admit. But if you love it, that's it. That's what this video is all about. It's what if you love the Spice Girls, good on you. You really enjoy it. You have fun times listening to it. Go and see them if they're doing another reunion.
Yeah.
I went to see. That's one of the bands that I'd never seen was the Stone Roses, and they did do a reunion. I think in the noughties, possibly, maybe in the ones. I don't know. I can't remember when it was now. You lose track of time, don't you? And that was brilliant. I enjoyed that. Came out and played all the hits. Yeah. And that's I think that's one of the that was like my final band that I'd not seen. You know, obviously there's certain bands like the Smiths where you're never going to get to see them. I don't think the Smiths would ever get back together again. And obviously Queen is another band that I have seen, but not with Freddie, unfortunately. It was with, I think Paul Rodgers was the singer when I saw them. So that was one of my disappointments, is I've never seen Freddie Mercury live. I think that would have been really good. Really, really good. I mean, I've done really well. I've seen people like Paul McCartney, Elton John.
You've seen a lot, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I've been to Glastonbury once. That was really good. Saw The Who at Glastonbury. People like the Arctic Monkeys and... God, it's just, the list goes on, really, of all the old indie bands. I used to love The Coral, The Strokes. What's it called? I've forgotten what they're called now. There's that many bands. The Killers. I used to like The Killers. Seen The Killers a few times. Radiohead. God, the Muse. Oh, unbelievable live. I saw them, I think, at a Leeds festival. Muse were absolutely unbelievable live. Sorry, I don't know the names of a lot of the people in these bands, but the lead singer out of Muse, he's got a lot of Freddie Mercury energy. He can play the keyboard, he can play the guitar, he can sing, and you know, one of the songs is there banging away on the... It's very Bohemian Rhapsody. It doesn't sound anything like Bohemian Rhapsody, but he starts on the piano or keyboard, and then next thing he's thrashing away at the guitar, and it's like, wow, that's amazing. Manic Street Preachers. They're one of the first bands I saw live on an M&E tour in Manchester. First band you saw live, can you remember who it was?
Hearsay.
Hey, Hearsay, interesting.
I actually took my brother, who obviously isn't still my little brother, but was a little brother back then. And I actually had a panic attack halfway through. I'd never been to a concert before.
No.
I had to come out.
Bless you.
You see what I mean? I've never... But I will say, as a child, we lived at Easton Park, and where we lived was on, like, we led onto York Road, which is like one of the main roads in Leeds. And when someone like Madonna or Phil Collins or Michael Jackson went to Roundy Park, you could sometimes see the helicopter go over, or you'd see the coaches go on. So, you know, we'd often go up also as well we used to go canning, where we used to collect all a million cans as kids and then go weigh them in for money. So for although I didn't go to a lot of concerts, I still had that concert vibe around.
Yeah.
Because it was a big thing in Leeds, Roundy Park. There was a lot of some of the biggest names of the time went there. Yeah,
Roundy Park. I think we wanted to see Genesis at Roundy Park when they were, I think, 1988. Rings a bell.
That'll probably be what I'm remembering.
That's probably that gig, yeah. But we actually went on holiday the day of the gig, and my dad says there's no way you'll be able to go to that gig. And I think the train was like 12 o'clock at midnight as well, because we went to Newquay, and it was the overnight train to Newquay, and we probably would have made it, but it'd have been a push. There's another story to that, because we did actually go and see Genesis back in the noughties, I think, and I had to cut holiday short for that as well. I went late for a holiday. I had to reschedule a flight. I had to rearrange my own hire car to meet my friends, and that was a Genesis gig as well. Was that the Genesis? It might have been Phil. No, it was Genesis. Yeah. I got my love from Genesis from my brother, because he used to love them when I was growing up. And I think I picked up a lot of my musical tastes from my brother. He used to like to play keyboards and guitars and things like that. And he used to listen to music, and I was just playing my toys or whatever in the other rooms and stuff. And that's a lot of that, my oldie style taste, I think I've picked up from my brother. But I still love Genesis, I don't know why. It's just really good music again that I really enjoyed. And it's a shame that Phil's starting to age now. Bless him.
It is, isn't it? But it's, you know, everybody gets
he's you know, he's been round the block there and back, I'm sure. But yeah, but the first band I saw live, I think that would have been at university as well, and it was Ash. I don't know if you've heard of a band called Ash.
No.
I
used to get smash hits as well.
Girl from Mars. Have you remember a time when I was a girl from Mars?
No.
Yeah, no, that was it was the album was 1977, which is the year I was born. So I'm assuming the lead singer or one of the members of the band's the same age as me, and they named their debut album. No, I don't think it was a debut album actually. I think they probably had an album before that, but that was the first band we saw live. I can remember we got late. Well, we weren't late in the arena. We was in the bar beforehand, and we were having a few drinks. I've got to say, before the gig, and we missed the start of the show. As sometimes these things happen at music gigs.
Yeah.
You get a bit carried away. But yeah, and we just barged away to the front as we do, as you do in younger days. Sorry to all those people that were at the front all the way through and waiting inside and weren't in the bar. We just kind of danced our way to the front.
Yeah.
Which you could do back in those days. You know, there was no hostility or anything like that in these. And there was room to manoeuvre as people are jumping up and down. But yeah, really good gig, that one. I really enjoyed it.
You've been to loads, haven't you?
Yeah.
And one of the good ones I went to I've been to a show, a gig 3 times. Hearsay, Robbie Williams and Liam Gallagher.
Yeah.
All very different, all very unique. The Robbie Williams one was again, that was at Roundy Park, which was a day thing. You know, you went early morning, I went with my other brother, same brother I went to Hearsay with, they were a bit older then. And, you know, you had beers, there were food stalls, beer stalls, wine stalls, fields to sit on. It was a full day thing.
Yeah.
Day and night. And you can understand why so many people get addicted to gigs because of the whole adrenaline of everything, the build up, the buying of the tickets, the conversations beforehand, the memories, the full day, if they're going to go for a drink beforehand,
Drinking
food.
culture.
Yeah. The music, everything really. You can see why it can become an addiction to people, can't it?
Our music festivals became a massive addiction to us. We went to one every year. When we went to Glastonbury, I think I went to 3 music festivals that year. I went to Glastonbury, V, and no, I didn't go to 3. It was 2. I went to V in Staffordshire. We went to Glastonbury, and we went to the Killers gig in Manchester as well, didn't we? But yeah, it was brilliant. And I think one of the only artists I didn't see that I've not mentioned yet was Pulp. And I think they reformed for a little bit and they played Leeds Festival, and I literally went to the Leeds Festival for a day just to see Pulp, and they were amazing. Jarvis Cocker, what a man. And that would, I think, probably be one of my top 5 albums. Different class. Quite literally, a different class. Common People, Misshapes, and that's a different album, isn't it? Sorry, I was just thinking of all the songs from that album. But yeah, what an amazing album that is. There must be 5 or 6 tracks that stand out on that album. And I could listen to that forever. Yeah, what a good band to see live. I was really, really fortunate I managed to get a tickets for that one. What else we got?
Do you think as well that it's funny how certain artists and certain songs and bands remind you of that decade or bring you back to a certain decade or a certain time?
Yeah, definitely.
Even if you're not a follower of them.
Well, I literally went to the supermarket to get the weekly shop today, and as I was leaving Sainsbury's, no plug, sorry, I got in the car and there was an Embrace song on, and that took me back. It just took me back. Can't remember which one it was off the top of my head now. My brain goes sometimes, but it was Embrace, and it was like that took me right back to the late 90s, early noughties, and it's another band we used to love to go and see. I've probably seen them 3 or 4 times, Embrace. Again, really, really good band, some really good songs. I think somebody mentioned Embrace in one of the comments. I think Gravity, really poignant song for in certain emotional states. I think Gravity, lovely song, great band. So yeah, I've not mentioned half the bands, have I? Blur.
You follow loads,
Blur,
don't you?
loved Blur. I went to see Blur live, and yeah, And then I think at Glastonbury, I think Blur had split up back then, and I think we were at a loose end, and we went to one of the smaller stages, and it was, I can't remember which year we went to Glastonbury, but it was muddy. It was the year we had quite a lot of flooding. I think Sheffield flooded, because it was a bit of a pain to get. Well, I was supposed to go to work the day after I got back to Glastonbury, and I couldn't actually get to work because of the flooding in Sheffield, which was a bonus for me because I could just go home and go back to bed. Got to admit, because I was still tired. But I digress. Sorry, I'm turning into a mummy. I'm digressing. So I digress. Like Ronnie Corbett. Ronnie Corbett's story. Yeah, I digress. I've lost my train of thought now. Yeah, Blur, and we went to see Graham Coxon, and I was blown away. He's the lead guitarist, rhythm guitarist out of Blur. And I was blown away by his music, and it was just fresh, not fresh metal, but really, really heavy kind of rock music. And I've got 2 or 3 of his albums now, and it's another person. You're not that keen, are you? I've played it a few times. You weren't that keen.
No. It's personal taste.
It is personal taste, and I think it's the emotional state you're in at the time when you listen to the music as well. Because sometimes if I'm angry, I might want to listen to like really rocky music. There's a couple of Limp Bizkit songs that I like to listen to if I'm angry. I think one's called Break Stuff. Yeah. Which kind of you emit your anger through joining in the music and not doing anything else really, smashing your phone or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then your heartbreak. You listen to heartwarming songs and all those kind of emotions.
You've got to sing without even realise. Because again, I struggle with names of songs. It's a weird thing.
I struggle with names of artists.
It's more rhythm and memory, and a song will come on. Oh, this is one of my favourite songs, and I won't know the name of it. Artist. So it's a weird thing, and that's just me personally. But do you think music as well is changing and has enough, and things like reality TV shows now has had an impact on the past 20 years of music?
Oh, definitely. I think reality TV shows have taken a massive impact into the the single chart. And I think it took over the single chart for quite some time, and it became less relevant to normal bands and artists because they couldn't get a look in because it was like the younger generation was just buying up all these singles and whatever.
It's almost like fast music, isn't it?
It is fast music. It's populist music.
Yeah.
You were listening to a book. I was working yesterday and Claire was cleaning.
Yeah.
And you were listening to a book vlog. What?
Podcast.
That's the word I'm looking for. She was listening to a book podcast and somebody was on that. I don't know whose it was.
Matthew Harfer.
That's it. Yeah.
What is it? I'll put it in the what's it? Swords. Can't remember what it's called, but it's Matthew Harfer and Stephen A. Mackay.
And I was earwigging in because I was trying to work but not work at the same time, and I think he mentioned something very similar in the publishing world.
It's really sad, is this?
And that people have written a few books, doing all right, but the publishing world are not interested in those. They're interested in the next big thing. They're interested in the next Lee Child. They're interested in Stephen King's. Of this world, the real big hitters, your Dean Koontz's, your Stephen King's, the ones that are always in the top 10 charts as soon as they get released. You look at the New York's bestsellers, and you can guarantee that one of these artists are always going to be one of these authors, not artists, are going to be in there. And I think there's similar kind of things happening with pop music. It's all quick pop for the charts. That is and then your proper bands and musicians tend to do better in your album charts. Older school people who are into music still like their albums. And
but they were saying on the podcast that, and I didn't even actually know this, and I thought it was really tragic, that Matthew Harfer will often go into Waterstones to see if his book's made, and he's been writing for years, and he's a good writer, and he's got some good series under his belt, and he will often go into the big bookshops, and they still don't do the books. And I was like, I wonder why? Because it's Waterstones, it should be huge and full of all. And they said it's because they will only have, and especially with all the like the book club things and the prizes, Booker Prize and Women's Prize and all the prizes. And we once went into a bookshop in Ripon, didn't we? It took me ages to find this bookshop, and because I'd heard good things about it, we went in. It was all what I call
Hopper books.
It was all
popular books.
Yeah, it was books that that witter on a bit. I've since watching BookTube, I've opened my horizons with reading, but there's some books you're like, and it's that kind of a reaction to it.
It's a bit similar to films, won't it? You go to I don't think they have video shops anymore. You go to the cinema and it's all Golden Globe winner, Oscar winner, and then sometimes a lot of these films aren't that good. It's just the more highbrow, the more it's the proper the people who really like films like them because it's the cinematography is great, or the music is great, or a lot of time they're a bit dull. You know what I mean? But maybe the acting was good in it somehow, or it was poignant, or it's an on-topic subject or something like that. And all the really good films generally get missed out. The ones that people really like to watch don't get any of these awards.
And they were saying that for booksellers that aren't the big ones at the top, where there's no Booker Prize and everything like that, Amazon is their only hope, because that's where they get their business from, is Amazon. And yet people are slamming Amazon down because they're not independent bookshops. But if it wasn't for Amazon, there'd be a lot of authors that wouldn't have a chance, that would not have a chance.
It's interesting, isn't it?
And I think as well with music as well, with like things like TikTok and YouTube, is giving a different platform now.
Yes, especially to younger artists. You've got if I'm wrong, your Sam Fenders, those kind of people coming through. What was his name now? I've forgotten his name. There were another artist I think came through that kind of thing. Jake Bugg, I think Jake Bugg came through that. I think Arctic Monkeys actually made the name through YouTube and things like that, if I remember rightly. That videos of them going viral on YouTube and all those kind of things. Forgive me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong on that one. They're a very good band in themselves, but I think a lot of their fame came from social media rather than actually the old school way. I don't know if anybody's watched Bohemian Rhapsody the same way Queen made themselves famous. Like, it's probably a story of a lot of bands, Bohemian Rhapsody, and that's another really good film, isn't it? I really enjoyed some of these. Is that the word, biopic films? I think that's probably the right word, isn't it? I really enjoyed some of those. I think Bohemian Rhapsody was probably the first of them, wasn't it? And then you had Rocket Man, didn't you? I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, the Whitney one.
The Whitney one, the Elvis one. Yeah, that was a good film. Tom Hanks was good in that.
There's a Priscilla one that's out that's controversial, isn't it?
Yeah, we've not seen it yet. You want to see that one, don't you? And there's probably numerous other ones that we've just not got around to seeing yet. Or we've seen, I just can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, I've lost my train of thought now. But where are we at?
Yeah. We were at films.
We were talking about films and bands, weren't we? So, what do you think of Queen?
I like them.
Yeah.
I like them. And I remember when he died as well. Again, he was one of those that you remember.
Yeah. I think I was... Out of populous people who die suddenly, he was probably the one that really touched me the most.
Yeah.
I know Diana was the person that touched you the most when she died. And Diana wasn't really somebody that touched my world, really. And I think I was more mortified when Freddie died. Because, I think I was starting... That's my love affair with Queen was starting back then. I've been listening to the more recent stuff, and I was really enjoying it. And I can remember the moment when the Made in Heaven came out.
Yeah.
I think it's a couple of years after he died, and I went out and bought it the first day it came out, and I was, I can remember putting it on the CD player and feeling quite melancholy when I was listening to it.
Yeah.
Because it was like angels from heaven singing it.
Yeah,
It was very bizarre. But yeah.
But when you think about his contemporaries that have all got old, or the ones that have got old, and the fact that many of them have imploded, many of them have pushed it too far, or aged and not retired, and it's almost like he had to go out as a bright light. And I think as well that music was something that was only meant to be for a short period of time live. I know people still listen to it now, but I think that was the gift of that music.
I think I did like some of the newer stuff, but I think it wasn't as good as some of their classic stuff.
Could this be something with all entertainers though? Because I'm looking at my list, and Michael Jackson, I was the same, loved him, obviously in the 80s and the 90s, but then went off his music, and I've openly said this, went off his music into the late 90s and noughties, but was devastated when he died. Britney Spears as well, loved her music, then started going off Britney. Madonna, Cher, Elvis, Adele. A lot of the power ballads now. Look at this list. I think, Liam Gallagher, I got into him through you and I'm still into him. But, yeah, that's are they only really meant to be? Do you only get so many, but it's like an author. Do you only get so many books? Is there so many books within you? Is there only so many albums within you before things start getting a little bit
I think that's what you find when they start getting to a certain stage. They're not releasing their own music anymore as well. Some of these artists, they're doing covers and they're doing cover albums. And yeah, it's because they probably enjoy music, and you know what I mean? And I'm trying to think if there's anything wrong with that. There probably isn't. If they love playing music, but they're struggling to actually write it themselves anymore, and they've run out of ideas, but they still want to go out and perform. Why not? Why not do covers? Actually, now I think about it, why wouldn't you? My previous thoughts on this was I wasn't too keen on this. It's like, well, you should be writing your own music. You know what I mean? But now, looking from the thought pattern of this video, is that if people like music, then maybe they should just carry on. And if that's where they find the love, that's where they find the love. You've got Rod Stewart still banging it away.
Some of them can do it. Some of them do it well.
Elton John, I think, played his last gig at Glastonbury, and I think we watched it on a bit of that gig on New Year's Eve, and he still seemed to have it.
I think it's down to the person as well, because someone like Tina Turner that was very grounded, but managed to carry it off right up until the end. Tom Jones, he's old now, obviously, but he's still managed to carry it on till the end. Michael Jackson imploded. Britney imploded. Madonna, ? Cher, Elvis again imploded. Adele still going. But I think it is down to the person.
Did Elvis implode, or did he get trapped?
I think a bit of both. I think he was just abusing his body, and there was trauma there. And I think a lot of these people.
When did Suspicious Minds come out?
Right.
Well, the initial, I was caught in a trap. And I
think a lot of them actually give messages in the music. Yeah. We've had this conversation before. When you listen back and you think, God, they were trying to tell us something.
Because after seeing the Elvis film, it was like, God, he was trapped in that casino. You know what I mean? He was the house band. He was the house band, pretty much, and he just kind of played and played and played. And
that's another thing looking at this list. So that's why I'm looking down. Is Michael got trapped, Britney got trapped, Madonna ? But yeah, some of them. Why do some of them get trapped? Is it drugs, drink, mental health, management teams around them?
Lifestyle getting too much, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
It's a different perspective to it.
But, I don't have anything wrong with these people coming back. You see, I'm going to say Stone Roses again, but the Rolling Stones still rock it away on stage. God, they must be in the 80s now, mustn't they? And they're still managing to do it. And I'm assuming it's because they love doing it. They absolutely love.
And Liam bringing a lot of his fan base is getting young again. Liam Gallagher.
Yeah. Well, he's introducing a lot more people into Oasis. I mean, obviously, I like a lot of Noel stuff as well. Don't get me wrong. I think at the minute the Gallagher brothers has been my go-to music on in the car stereo.
We've constantly got them on, haven't we?
Yeah, pretty much.
But I think as well with Liam, I know others as well, that obviously there's a whole host of them out there, but things like Liam, Spice Girls, the Beatles, when you actually look back at them, they actually came in at a time when the generation of that time needed something else. And you look back at the generation that they needed, the old guard wasn't really doing anything for them, and they needed some spice to come forward. And it's the same now, like with the next generation of lads mainly, finding solace and inspiration in Liam. Now, I know he's a very colourful character, but to actually stand tall and stand proud and not be afraid of criticism and the haters and life is actually a good thing. And it's the same with Spice Girls. You look back, it was 5 women, 5 young women, you know, posh, baby, sporty, scary and ginger. Well, that were 5 different women that all had their place and found their place and made their place in the world. That actually it doesn't matter if you're shy, it doesn't matter if you come from if you're posh. There's actually deeper meaning behind it all.
Yeah, definitely.
You think about girls in the 90s again, where is your place? You know, where is your place in the world? The world was changing.
Definitely. And then you look back, a lot of the Oasis stuff is linked back for the love of the Beatles music and, you know, Clash and bands like that, I think. And obviously Liam, I think, moulds himself a lot on John.
John, yeah.
But obviously completely different as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, John could. He had banter, didn't he?
Yeah.
He had a lot of banter, and he's a cheeky chappy. Whether he's as rock and roll as Liam can be, I don't know. Maybe it's a sign of the times that if John Lennon was around right now at the same age, would he have been Liam Gallagher? I don't know. Would he have had the same?
Yeah, if you think about some of John's interviews, especially towards the end, it was like some of the stuff he came out with.
I mean, he was outspoken. You know what I mean? He was an outspoken man, and one could say that was the reason that got him killed.
Yeah.
Because he was outspoken. Or was it just, or was it just some nutter? I don't know. Which, you know, nutters tend to get drawn to these stars, these shining lights, as well. So, or was it a conspiracy? Am I wearing a tin hat? I don't know.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, wasn't it? I think as well he had a lot of power, did John? And I think that's the difference with Liam. He doesn't have the power that John had.
No.
Not the political power. That's the difference. I think if Liam went political or went too controversial in certain ways, like what John did.
I think he does well not to do that, Liam Gallagher, to be honest with you. He stays in the rock and roll mentality, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's just, I'm just a rock and roll
villain
almost.
I'm here to make music and trigger people. Well,
yeah.
You've got to be careful. You do. I mean, look at people like J.K. Rowling. You've got to be careful because it can make or break you. And
you got to be careful what you say about certain subjects, and that you just don't. There's no go places sometimes, isn't there? Which, you know, can send your popularity spiraling down. And Liam sticks to what he knows. He's rock and roll, singing, having a laugh, banter, and just, I don't know, taking his piss out of his brother. I don't know.
Yeah, he's that who thinks. I wonder if that's a fake fallout, you know, or if it has been a fallout and they've got back together and it's still a fake.
I think the more friendly. It does seem to say that they're more friendly than they have been in the past. But how close that relationship is, I have no idea. Only they can tell us that, and that eventually they may play together. I don't know. Maybe they're still doing enough singly that they don't need to reform Oasis. They don't need that circus that might follow that. I mean, when the Stone Roses reformed, there was quite a circus there, I think Oasis would be a different level if they reformed potentially.
That concert we went to.
What, Liam?
Liam, I'd never been to one. Right, you know what concerts I've been to.
Yeah.
ESA, Robbie Williams, all the noughties.
Let's just say it was rock and roll.
So I'd never been to anything like that, and it was obviously December 2017. It came to Leeds. We got a taxi into Leeds, and as the taxi's getting nearer to Leeds Arena, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Drug dogs, police vans, gangs. Honestly, we pulled up and we got out of the taxi and I actually went into Costco, and I said to you, I can't do it. We're talking, and you were like, oh, it's fine, it's normal. But the energy, when I look back, it wasn't sinister neither. But it was just something I'd never been experienced to, but...
It was rock and roll energy.
Yeah, and people throwing pints and all, but I actually loved that gig. I loved Liam, and I loved that gig.
Pints of certain substances,
yeah,
I'm sure.
and I'm glad I pushed myself out of my comfort zone, because all I did was actually, it was that bad. I said, right, I'll focus on walking over there and standing there for a bit. That's how, because it was just like too much. And then I said, I'm going to just concentrate on, because this is actually a tip, I'm just going to concentrate on queuing up. If I get to the doors, I don't want to go in, I won't go in. And I'll just concentrate on staying inside and having a drink. And I actually enjoyed it, didn't I?
And there was a lot to concentrate on, because it was post Aria Grande, wasn't it? It was post the bombing at Manchester
so that added
Evening
to it
News
as well.
Arena. So there was doing bag checks and everything, and it was I've never had anything like that at a gig.
So there was that pressure there as well,
it was quite it's quite a busy gig to get into. It wasn't just one way you just walk straight in almost. Luckily, I think what works in his favour there is we had a seat. We're in the like tiered section at Leeds Arena, and not on the floor. I think he'd have struggled if we'd have been.
There's no way.
If we'd have been in the standing, I think he might have struggled.
It wouldn't have happened.
I think you would have struggled.
It would never. I wouldn't have gone in.
We'd have had to stand right at the back. You wouldn't have been able to go anywhere near the front.
But I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, it was an amazing gig.
I don't want to never say never, but yeah.
I've got to say, I've seen Oasis 3 or 4 times, and it's the best I've ever seen Liam.
He sparkled, didn't he? It was.
He wasn't drunk. A lot of the Oasis gigs, he probably was a little bit half cut when I saw him, and it wasn't as good an experience as it probably could have been. But that gig, he was on it, and the band was on it, and it was a really, really good gig. And like him or hate him, we enjoyed it, didn't we? And
saw Lennon Gallagher as well. Nobody saw him,
Yeah,
I said to you at the time, I said, I'm sure that was Lennon Gallagher. Oh, no, it's not, no, it's not. And it was actually on social media afterwards, on Instagram, Liam's Instagram, that Lennon was there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wedding music. Should we show what we did for our wedding music?
You can do, yeah.
So, we had Beyonce, Halo, on when we were signing the register. And 1,000 Years by Christina Perri.
Was that signing register and kind of just that milling around time after the ceremony where people just stood around waiting for all the formalities in the church to go?
Yeah, and whilst people were waiting for the bride and groom to arrive, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but we had View Lee from Frozen. And
your nieces loved that film, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's why we chose that.
And I actually quite like that. It's a nice...
Yeah, it's just quite mellow.
Very different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just some background music, I think. You'd use the word.
And then the first opening song at the reception, which was a working men's club, we had a party, didn't we?
Yeah.
Was One Last Time. Because that I heard that for the first time on my endo and I loved it. So we had that, didn't we? Then that dance, which I always forget. You
always forget, because it was my choice, wasn't it? Not yours. Claire picked everything else, and I got the one choice, which was the first dance music. And it's a poignant song for me, but it's also a poignant song for people in relationships. And I just thought it was a lovely song. And it's Genesis, Follow Me, Follow You. It's a really, really, really lovely song, I think. And it's if you listen to the lyrics, it's just all about being together, and yeah, it's a lovely song. There's been so many songs we could have picked, but I always had that in my head as a song that I wanted to have as my first dance.
Yeah.
And luckily Claire was acceptable. Because I know Claire wanted something else.
What did I want?
I can't remember, but yeah.
I can't remember. You see, this is it. I actually struggle, and I think this is with more modern music, and it's embarrassing. It is actually really embarrassing, this, to hear words in music. I have to really, and I don't know what it is. I've said this before, it's like, I have to really, especially modern music, I can't hear the words.
That's what's really good with modern day apps and things, whatever choice of music network you use, but I know Amazon Prime Music, when you listen to it, you can get the words up on the screen, and you can actually read the words as they're sung out, and you can do what I normally do is get all the words wrong when I'm singing along with it, and you don't do that if you can see them. So you could kind of do karaoke along with it nowadays, which is quite good.
The music I like now, and it's also totally different, is I've been drawn to Northern Soul. I'm really into Northern Soul at the minute.
What would you describe Northern Soul as?
See, that question makes me anxious because I don't know. I'd have to go onto YouTube and type in Northern Soul music, or I'll go on Alexa and get Northern Soul up. Because if you said to me what Northern Soul artist you are,
what I'd say is Northern Soul music is all the music I like. Your indie kind of stuff, your charlatans, those kind of bands.
Yeah, it is. It's very similar, and I think that is since meeting you, my tastes have changed.
Yeah. So your 90s-y kind of stuff.
But things like harp music and piano music, I don't listen to it all the time, and I would if I was working.
Listen to
some admin.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I do that at work.
Because I got into that from the cruises, because on an evening they'd play either harp or piano, and I find that reminds me of being on holiday with you. So now and again I'll go on harp on YouTube and I'll listen to some harp or some nice classical again, don't know any artists.
There's a cracking one called Relaxing Classical on Amazon Prime Music, and I put that on when I'm at work. Yeah. And if I work in an office sometimes when I'm not working at home, and the chatter in the office can be so really annoying, and people speak really loud. Claire's bought me some really, 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 really good noise cancelling headphones for work, but they don't do everything. So, but if you stick some music on, it generally drowns most of it out. Yeah. But when you work and you struggle to listen to your favourite music because you get you get pulled into your favourite music. So I found that this relaxing classical music, it's nice to listen to. But you can not get too involved in it as well, if that makes sense.
Also, I'm into Nordic music at the minute, meditation music.
Oh, right.
Like, well, they call it Viking music, but they weren't all Vikings, so it's Nordic music. You get loads of it on. So I do that for meditations, obviously, all the shamanic music, meditation music, all that I'm obviously into because of work. And now, I know it's not music, but I've recently got into podcasts. So there was a time I'd just like say, Alexa, play Britney Spears when cleaning. Alexa, play Michael Jackson when cleaning. Now I'm more than likely to use a podcast. Strange, isn't it, how?
Yeah, well, you know, it's horse for courses, isn't it? With everything, especially music. And it's, again, like I was saying earlier, it's the mood you're in. You can be in this different mood one week to next. You can, at 10 o'clock on a Friday, you could be listening to one thing, and then next week you'll be listening to something completely different, or you'll have John Lennon on, or you'll have the Beatles on, or you'll have Liam Gallagher on, or you'll have, I don't know, Whitney Houston on, but none of that's wrong. And
no, it's not.
Nobody should ever, there should be any naysayers in what people's choice of music is, because that's your problem, not theirs. And if you don't like anything that I like, that's fine. You know, you've got your own taste in music. And that's kind of where we're coming from on this. And we've just blabbered on about what we love in music. And I think what I'm going to go on forward is I'm going to, similar to what Claire's done, I was thinking about doing some kind of music club. And it's going to be a video once a month, something like that. And I'm going to ask people to start listening to some new music. Depending where you're from or what generations you are and what genre you like, it might be music you already enjoy. Yeah. Or it might be completely new music to you. So I'm going to step out of my wheelhouse, well, a little bit, to begin with,
Yeah.
because I do know some 60s music, and I know a lot of 60s bands, but do I know everything? No, I don't.
I think it'd be interesting, because like with the books, it'll get us listening to different things and thinking about music, especially for someone like me that struggles.
So what I was thinking was that I'm going to start with decades. So the first month I'm going to concentrate on the 60s, and I'm going to pick 4 or 5 bands for us all to listen to that month, and then just see if we enjoy them. And then I may ask you we'll do a video and we'll talk about it and see what we feel. And then in the comments I'll ask you to grade those bands and give us kind of an idea of what you want. In fact, no, I'll ask you before then. I'm going to do another video after this in a week's time, and I've lost my train of thought now, sorry. Yes, so in a few days' time, what I'm going to ask at the end of this video is you all put down some ideas of 60s bands that we should listen to, excluding the Beatles, because the Beatles are given, aren't they, of what people will really enjoy doing, and what I think a lot of people have heard the Beatles. Yeah. We could always come back to the Beatles another time, but I think let's look at some different artists other than the Beatles, and let's see how we enjoy those. And like I say, in a few days' time, if whoever's put these artists up, I'm going to pick 5, and I'll do another quick video. And in the comments for that video, we can just sort of talk about how some of these artists are going to make us feel, and whether we've been enjoying them, and maybe grade the artists 1 to 5. So your favourite being 1 and your least favourite being 5. So like a top of the pops, not grading them each band 1 to 5. Does that make sense? More of a chart. Yeah. That's what I'm looking for. So say, I don't know, the Beatles number 1, Rolling Stones number 2, blah de blah de blah. So I'll probably explain more in that next video, where I will tell you the 5 artists. Does that sound like a plan to you? Can you add to anything?
You did originally said we were just going to choose an album, like we were choosing.
I did think that, and I think if we're doing it once a month, it's not going to be enough to listen to. And I'm thinking let's pick 4 or 5 artists, and that's plenty of stuff we can all get into and have a listen to. A month's quite a long time, and just to listen to one album over and over and over and over and over again might be a bit repetitive, especially if you're not that keen. But let's have a think about it. But I'm thinking about picking 5 artists, and we'll see how it goes for the first month. We can always tweak it for the second month, which will move to the 70s. And we'll pick the 4 or 5 artists, and we'll all have a little bit of a listen. And what I'll do is I'll try and pick artists that I know their music's on YouTube, so it's like free to air content. Because I know YouTube, I'm not sure much about YouTube music, but which is similar to not Netflix, Spotify and Amazon Prime and all that kind of stuff.
You can still go on and just go on YouTube and get an
that's what I mean. On normal YouTube, there'll probably be the music videos and all those kind of things for all these bands. So I'll try and pick bands that have at least got free to air content, so we're not relying on people having like subscriptions and things like that, because that might get a bit restrictive. But a lot of you may have these artists, the back catalogues already in your CD or record collections or whatever, so that's all good as well.
Do you know something, talking about CDs and records, do you think as well that the whole thing of when we were kids going out and buying a CD, a tape, a record, looking for it, going into the shops like H&B, Woolworths or whatever it was, added something that you don't get now? It's a bit like a bookshop, isn't it? You go into a bookshop.
I don't get the same excitement from a new album.
You open an LP and they've got that little book they used to have in, and words and pictures. And
there's another band called Shed 7, and apparently they've got a new album out, and they've been around. They literally got the 30-year anniversary, and they've been around for 30 years, and their album's gone to number 1 in the album chart. And it's the longest time that an artist has had from starting out to getting number one in the album chart. It's the longest time. It's 30 years. It's took them 30 years to get a number one album. And I'm interested in listening to that album, but I won't go out and buy it now because, to be fair, I've got rid of all my CDs because we didn't want clutter, did we? And we've been moving houses and things, so I donated all my CDs. I've got it all on YouTube Music. I managed to get it. I think it was Google Music, and you could digitize your music, and then give that to Google, and they say yes, you have got permission to have that as a digital copy because you own the record. And so I've got a lot of that on my old back catalogue in what is now YouTube Music, and so it just means less clutter in the house. And you don't need to have a CD player either. You just have a Amazon Alexa or a sound bar or something that your Amazon device is attached to, or something like that. So yeah, it's all good.
Be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. So, task to complete. Please, in the comments of this video, give me some names of some cracking 60s bands. Hopefully, maybe off-piste. Maybe not the ones you'd expect to say. So, we're nixing the Beatles. We're more than likely nixing the Rolling Stones. Anything else is fair game, I think. Let's nix the Rolling Stones and the Beatles because they're very good. They've been around for years and they're probably the populist bands of the time. So, if once we get to the 90s, we probably nix Oasis and the Blur, but we'll see. But in this instance, we're going to nix the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. We can maybe concentrate on another video. Let's listen to some fresher music, that stuff we may have forgotten about or not listened to at all. So, comments in this video, name me as many bands as you can, really, and I will troll through them and pick 5 and then release another video, probably a short, naming the 5. Can you get comments in shorts? My ignorance of YouTube, sorry.
Yeah, you can.
So in those comments, we'll have the discussions of what these bands are doing, and then we'll do a video and have further discussions. Hopefully that's good for everybody. We'll find out on the comments on this video.
Also, as well, could you put in the comments below what other subjects you'd like us to natter about? Because I think this is fun, isn't it? Any other live things? I don't know, lifestyle, likes, dislikes. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, we've talked about telly now. We've talked about music. We could talk about genres in music. Maybe we could talk about different genres in television. We can look at favourite comedy programmes. I could talk for hours about comedy programmes that I love. Just don't ask me to talk about soap operas. Yeah, we could talk about holidays and lifestyle things and all kinds of things. Yeah, cruises, a bit of experience on going on cruise holidays, those kind of things, different destinations for holidays. There's loads of stuff we've probably not even commented on here now. But yeah, give us some ideas and we will chat away and hopefully keep you entertained a little bit. Like, comment and subscribe. And if you don't really want to comment on anything like that, leave us a music emoji in the comment section. Yeah, a record, a guitar, something notes like that. Thanks for watching. See you later. See you next time. Bye. Yeah, bye.